let me say something that might sting a little, but also might give you some comfort. Some people didn't ignore the red flags. They were just trained not to see them.
Yeah, like it wasn't I chose this. It was more like this feels normal.
And if you've ever thought, why did I stay? Why didn't I see it? What is wrong with me? There might be nothing wrong with you. You might have been conditioned. You're going to understand some of the reasons your brain minimized it so you can stop blaming yourself by the end of this.
Welcome back to the Touch My Health podcast.
Today isn't about diagnosing your ex. It's about understanding you.
Because if you don't understand the pattern, you're probably bound to repeat it.
And we're not doing that.
Absolutely not.
So why didn't I see it? To me, this is talking more about abuse that isn't physical. We can all obviously see it when it's physical, but this is a question we struggle with more when it's not black and blue bruises. This is also a question we ask ourselves because most people were taught abuse is only bruises. It's only screaming and fighting or fear, someone obviously very cruel.
Yeah, so if it wasn't that, you talked yourself out of it because abuse of the mind doesn't show up like in a movie where you realize what's going on 30 to 45 minutes in. It could sometimes look like a strong personality. They just communicate differently. They're just stressed or they had a hard childhood.
Yeah, and this is what brings us to needing to understand ourselves, our childhood, the events that shaped our growing up years to really answer the question, why didn't I see it?
Ask yourself these questions. Did I grow up learning to keep the peace? Did I feel responsible for people's moods? Did I apologize first just to end the tension, to end the fight? Or did I learn to stay quiet so things wouldn't get worse? If you said yes, you weren't really trained for love. You were trained more for survival. You don't fall into abuse because you're stupid. You fall into it because it matches something familiar.
Absolutely. I think back to when I first started therapy after years and years and years of, making the same exact mistakes. It's like
Right.
Same person, different face kind of thing, And so when I first started therapy, it helped me a lot in identifying some of the things in my childhood and how they played into my relationships as an adult.
Oh, they definitely do.
Yeah. And I am not a confrontational person. You know this. I do not care for confrontation,
Right.
Especially when it comes to relationships because it kicks in my fear of abandonment, which is also something that stemmed from my childhood. But the not liking confrontation either was, through therapy found out it's had a lot probably to do too with when I was younger, my parents yelling and screaming and stuff like that. That was when I was a lot younger, and I just remember certain bits and pieces of that. And, my parents are great. I love my parents. They're still together. They've been together for 40 years, but...
So lucky.
Yeah.
You're one of the few.
Yeah. And they're not... I don't say that to say, I had this awful childhood, and my parents were, fighting and screaming and, beating each other up, because they were not. But there was a period of time where, in my younger years, where there was a lot of tension and screaming and yelling.
Yeah.
But I also had a major life event when I was 15. I lost my virginity, and the boy that I dated, he broke up with me in a pretty awful way that just, I think that is what started my fear of abandonment issues. And then with the not liking confrontation, I look back at a lot of things in my relationship and realize, okay, these are big reasons why I didn't see it and why I stayed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you don't realize until you're an adult just how much that childhood trauma or any piece of your childhood really shapes into your adulthood. and can really affect your relationships. They can be friendships and romantic relationships. It's so crazy how your brain just kind of sticks with that, and those times of your life really shape the rest of your life. It's something crazy.
Well, and even, you mentioned friendships, like even friendships I think of, because when I was younger in elementary school, I guess you could say I don't know if I would say I was bullied, but I was like picked on a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And it made it really harder for me when I remember being in middle school and high school. I didn't have, I wasn't in the super popular kids group, I had friends. I mean, I wasn't like picked on in high school or anything,
you weren't
but
the cheerleader.
no, but I also, it's because I didn't like being the center of attention. I didn't want to be, I almost didn't even want to be in the popular crew because I didn't like to have attention on me, because when I was younger, attention I got most of the time from other peers was negative.
Oh,
and so it, and even now as an adult, I'm so particular about my friends. I don't
As
need
you
to have,
be.
I mean, I think that's a good thing that when you become an adult, you don't need to have, it's quality over quantity.
For
right?
sure. Yeah. And when I was growing up, I kept my circle very small, but I knew a lot of people, and a lot of people knew me.
I feel like you would have been a social butterfly.
I was.
I feel like you would have been like the, he's friends with everybody. He's friends with this clique and this clique and this clique.
I was definitely the go-between between a lot of those cliques.
And you had a lot of lady friends too.
I did. I had a lot more lady friends than I had guy friends growing up.
Well,
what can I say?
Yeah, that was not the case for me. That whole men and women can be friends thing. That's another podcast episode.
It's a good topic for another episode.
But I didn't have that. So,
why does chaos feel familiar? Why does it feel more comfortable than I know it should? Here's what's wild. Calm can feel boring when you grew up in chaos. It can feel suspicious, like, why are you being so nice to me right now?
Right? Your nervous system and your mind is saying, this is too quiet, or this is too good, like something's coming. And there are experts and other people who have researched into this and say, if you grew up in a loud house, silence feels wrong. If you grew up walking on eggshells, then peace feels very unfamiliar. So what happens is you often mistake familiarity for safety, even when it's not safe at all. Familiar isn't safe. Familiar is just what's known.
Let me ask you something. If someone is consistent and calm, do you feel relieved or do you feel restless?
Well, who are we talking about? Are we talking about if you, or in general, or now or previously? Because I feel like the answer was different before in my past life, versus now. And with you, it could be if it's you who's consistent and calm, I'm going to feel different than versus somebody in my past.
Yeah, I think you could be talking about now, but talk about either relationships and friendships.
Well, if you're consistent and calm, I do feel relieved because I know I'm safe with you. But previously, there really wasn't a lot of consistency. So I don't even know what that is, or I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
And calm translated to passive aggressiveness, or you're being quiet for a reason, or calm for a reason. There's something else behind that. There's an underlying meaning. So no, not really relieved. A little restless maybe.
It would make you feel restless if there was that silence and that calm. You always felt like something was kind of coming.
Yeah, or like sitting there thinking in your mind, like, oh, why are they being so quiet? Like, what's going on in their mind?
So that quietness was typically, you said, like passive aggressive. They were using that as a
Well, like sometimes, for example, when we joke around about this, like you're a woman, because most of the time it's women, and you ask, "Hey, are you okay?" "I'm fine.
I'm fine.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Nothing's wrong.
Nothing's wrong. Really? You're okay?" "Yep, great." And you're just, and the other person is sitting there going, "I know something's not right.
Damn well.
Something's not right." But I know now, like if I ask you, "Hey, are you doing okay? Is everything okay?" And you go, "Yeah, I'm fine." I'm like, "Okay, I know." Like I can trust and feel safe that you're telling me the truth and you're not being passive aggressive or holding something in and being calm, and then at the perfect opportunity, it's like, bam.
Throw it all in and
Yeah.
just start that massive
This one time last
unload
month,
of past fights. Everything was being held in until right now, and now's the time to just dump it on you. That happened to me a lot, especially with my childhood, where I was abused, and I was physically abused by my mother, and it would come up for every time that we fought or had an argument. She would hold a lot of that over my head, even for months. Whatever I did, she would hold it over my head.
Even though she beat the crap out of you?
Even though, because every time she hit me, it was my fault. But with my first marriage, she did the passive aggressive, quiet, "No, I'm fine," knowing damn well you weren't. And then
It's fine. I'm fine.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, we would have an argument, and she would bring up things that happened months ago that I don't remember. So it turned into this, her firing things at me from things that, happened months ago. And I'm like, I don't honestly even remember.
Yeah.
So I would lose the details of anything because I wasn't
I feel
trying
like they
to
do
remember
that
that
on purpose sometimes, because I would lose a lot of details too, and things would be brought up because he would wait until, like, especially a lot of our arguments stemmed from nights out drinking or something like that, and so then the next day it'd be like,
right,
and I'm like, what are you even talking about? Like
things that may not have even happened. Yeah.
Why do I keep ending up with the same type? This is something that I asked myself a lot, and I have friends in this same situation asking me this too, along with why do I keep making the same mistakes? And I'm going to say this bluntly. It's not always that you attract them. It's that you tolerate things longer than you should. So let's reverse it. Let's say it again, right? It's not always that you attract them. It's that you tolerate things longer than you should.
And you explain it away because you're good at adapting, which adaptation can be a trauma skill. Mm-hmm. Again, ask yourself this. Do you give people 20 chances? Do you see their potential and ignore their patterns? Do you become the therapist in the relationship? Mm-hmm. Do you sacrifice your needs to appease them so they don't leave? Let me tell you something. That's not love. That's conditioning. That's the aftermath of those core events and memories and parts of your upbringing that brought you to this point. However you learn to gain love as a kid, you'll try to replicate it as an adult.
So what comes to my mind, like kind of the first story I think of when I think about the whole, not attracting them, but tolerating things longer than you should, is I think of like my dad. He and my mom at first, I remember, like I said, when I was younger, it was kind of a little bit more turmoil in their relationship. But then my mom and my sister and I went away for the weekend to Pennsylvania to visit my grandma. When we came back, my dad was a different person, like totally changed. Found Jesus, just was a different man. And so I saw a lot of changes in him, good changes, throughout the rest of my life. But as a teenager, when I saw all that stuff as a young adult too, it made me tolerate a lot more than I should have, because I was always hopeful, like, well, if my dad can change, anybody can change. Like if you can go from these bad behaviors or this type of, behavior, then anyone can. And so I tolerated things a lot longer too, because I had that hope and that belief that, anyone can change.
Anyone
and so
can change,
I tolerated a lot more shitty behavior than I definitely should have.
If you can see someone change that quickly, I can totally see how it would give you hope. I'm going to tell you that your dad was a freaking unicorn, because most people don't. People don't change.
Yeah, they don't.
When they're set in their narcissistic or abusive ways, that pattern doesn't change typically.
And I don't know that my dad was like a narcissist or anything like that. I just, as a young kid, I remember, seeing and hearing things, and then one weekend you go away, and the next, and then you come back and things are totally different. And then Dad goes to church with us now. He doesn't drink anymore. He's, devoting more time. I can see his changes to my mom and like in their relationship. And so, and all of us as a family. And it just, it gave me this like, almost in a way, I think maybe made me feel like a fixer too, where we've talked about people who feel like they can fix people, like they want to help them, they want to fix them, they want to. And so just that, amongst many other things that I've already previously mentioned in my childhood, I think definitely shaped a lot of what I tolerated in adult relationships.
Because it gave you a false sense of security almost. Like you said, if he can change, well, then anybody can. And again, everybody can change if they want to, but a lot of people are unable to take the responsibility of their actions, of their past, and change it into for the good, for the better.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of inner
self-reflection, which is hard for a lot of people to do.
A lot of accountability and really reflecting on the ways that you were and changing those ways that were the bad ways. And if he went and gave his life to Jesus and that changed his life, I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah, 100%.
And I could totally see, like I said, how that would give you a false sense of hope and a false sense of security for other people, because you saw that change.
That combined with my, fear of abandonment, my hate for confrontation, it was like a perfect concoction for the most strongest cocktail of bad relationships.
Which is almost the complete opposite of the chaotic childhood I grew up in. Yeah. I was used to conflict. I was used to having a lot of that tension in the house and a lot of the physical violence. Like that was normal to me. That's what felt normal, and that's why so much now that I am so against a violent relationship in any manner. I've told you this before, but for the audience, when Katie and I first started dating, first date, like this was a first date boundary. I set a boundary. I said, if you ever hit me, that's the first time and that's the last time. Right? Did I say that?
Yeah. There is no, I'm sorry, I was drunk, or I didn't mean it, or
Absolutely
it was a joke, or blah,
Nope.
blah. Nope.
I don't play that game, because that was a lot of what I saw and what I felt in my childhood, and it's just not something that I am willing to accept in my adulthood, and it made me want to change and break that pattern, which,
Yeah.
it's,
You tolerated a lot of probably, you've told me, like crazy in your past relationships,
yes,
more than you should have, where you felt like for a long time you attracted crazy, but you don't attract it. You just, tolerate it because it feels familiar and it feels known.
yes, for the same as you, I felt like I was a fixer or am a fixer, and I could help calm their crazy or reel it in. It's
Which
just
is so strange because I can't even picture you honestly being like a fixer because you're so, because of how you are now.
yeah,
Like you're so strong in your, I don't want to say set in your ways because that sounds like you don't compromise for anything, which you do, but like you're just not gonna deal with bullshit that doesn't need to be dealt with.
I am
So
very
I can't, fixers
yeah.
I feel like do a lot of that.
I'm a very black and white. I deal in reality, not in fairy tale, and that's that's just how I am, and I'll continue to be. But yeah, I definitely would not now deal with or put up with a lot of the things that I did earlier in my early relationships, because I was still, when I got married, I was 23. And I was still very new to relationships, and I didn't have very many relationships before I got married.
Yeah.
So I just thought a lot of this stuff was normal for a relationship. So I dealt with or put up with a lot more than I will now.
Well, in both of our marriages, my first marriage, your only marriage, started not in the traditional sense anywhere, where you met, you fell in love, you got married. It was, we met, we had a baby,
Yeah.
and then we said, okay, I guess we got to get married.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it didn't start. Neither one of ours started definitely the way
Was not traditional.
or the way it really should be. It shouldn't start that way. I mean, I don't want people to sit here and say, oh, so you're not supposed to have kids before you get married. Like, that's not what I'm saying. You should meet, get to know them,
Yeah.
make sure you're compatible,
Yeah.
make sure you're going to be able to make the marriage last and work and have the commitment and devotion and love to each other to do it, and
Right.
then get married.
Yeah. And that was where my first marriage failed, is we never became friends. And I think that's so important for two people that are wanting to spend their life together, is they have to be friends first.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when you have any type of turmoil, you face any type of not diversity, adversity. Anytime you face any type of adversity, you're going to be able to handle that better if you respect the person you're with and you are friends. You can, a lot more times than not, will be able to hammer those tough things out together versus separately. How do I break the pattern? So what do you actually do with this information? How do you get from point A to point B? How do you break the pattern?
3 things. First, name it early. The moment you start excusing behavior, pause. It's hard, I know, but pause and think. Why are they doing this? Why am I accepting this behavior? Like, what's going on? Think about the situation. Name it right then and there. Second is stop negotiating your boundaries. Boundaries aren't debates. Boundaries are not maybes. Boundaries are hard lines in the sand.
I love
Now, I will say though that do you think that sometimes, or there are times that boundaries are broken, but the relationship can still be restored?
Yeah, I think so. I think you can break a boundary, a soft boundary.
Right. So there's like hard and soft boundaries.
Yeah. And I think if you break a soft boundary, there should be a lot of conversation, a lot of communication between the two of you, versus a hard boundary. Hard boundary would be, cheating, violence, name calling, stuff like that. I think would be a hard boundary. A soft boundary are something like some things like a pet peeve.
All right.
Right.
Like you hate when I leave stuff out and laying around.
Yes. Yeah. Which happens a lot.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Or you hate that I eat in bed, or if I were to eat in bed.
I was going to say, if you were,
yeah,
because you don't.
Right, I don't.
Because I don't like it.
Yeah. So I think, yes, you can still come back from those soft boundaries.
The hard ones, though, are...
The hard ones are a lot harder to come back from for obvious reasons. I think if there's violence in any relationship, in my personal opinion, that should be the end of it. That's my opinion. A lot of people will put up with violence in a relationship. I think that is a hard stop for me. That would be the end of our relationship. Cheating is obviously the same.
There are people who have come back from it. It's
Yep.
not to say that you can't, but when we say, stop negotiating your boundaries, it's don't keep letting them continuously be broken, right? They're not maybes. They're not meant to be broken. They are there for a reason. They're there to protect you. A hard boundary's broken one time. That's your decision and whoever you're with to decide if you're going to move past it or not. But if it keeps happening, you have to be firm. You have to put your foot down.
Yep, because then that's now manipulation. Now,
well, and they know they can continue to do said behavior, and all they need to do is say sorry, buy you some flowers, whine and cry, and then there you go.
And now we're back to it again. Yeah, like I said, that is a manipulative behavior if they're consistently breaking those hard boundaries.
Yeah. And the third is choose boring on purpose, right? Healthy love can feel boring at first, and that's a good sign. Don't sit there and ruminate about, what if or when will this happen. It's okay to be cautious of that feeling at first, especially when you come from tumultuous relationships, but let the boring sit with you. Don't run from it. Accept it. Just let it happen. Let it happen. And I wouldn't say our relationship was like boring, in the beginning or even now, but the chaos that you may be used to feeling, that when you get in a healthy relationship and it feels boring and you don't have all that chaos, that's a good thing. Don't run away from it.
Boring is peaceful.
Yes.
Boring is peaceful because there is not the daily fight, the daily argument. Boring is peaceful. Your nervous system might call peace boring because it's addicted to the chaos, but boring isn't bad. Boring is safe, and safe is where healing starts.
If you're sitting there thinking, wow, that was me, listen, you're not weak. You were trained.
And what's trained can be untrained. What you were taught and what you learned through your childhood can be unlearned.
Next episode, we're talking about something that traps people even deeper when faith is used to control you.
And if you've ever felt guilted, shamed, or spiritually pressured to stay, you're going to want that one.
If this gave you clarity, subscribe and stay with us and comment, that was my childhood, or if any part of this hit home. And if you want shorter clips between episodes, we're on TikTok, Instagram. Those will be linked in our description below. See you on the next one.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.